Hi everyone, it's a Betway Summer Cup week, and we're going to be taking a look at the race now from a betting perspective, giving you a few fancies and also taking a look at the balance of the card. Welcome back into the studio, should we call it, Jason Dedekin. Jason, great to have you back on the show. Seems like we only hook up for feature races, eh?
Yeah, Brent, it's nice to be on the show again. Yeah, and it's just, I think horse racing, the guys, Alan and Chris and them seem to keep your good for the game guys going on the platform. But it's nice to be part of the Betway Summer Cup. It's nice to be part of the bigger race meetings. I don't follow horse racing as much as I used to, but it's always nice to be part of it. You know, do your studying, see what you can come out. And, you know, from a Betway perspective, they are one of our main sponsors at Killarney, and it's a race that I'll be watching.
Excellent. Yeah, no, and they got some nice promotions on their site on that as well. And if you do want to open an account, I will put a link down below in the description box, but you can also log on to Betway and use the code GFTG, that of course standing for good for the game. But Jason, let's get into the card itself before we get into the race. You were telling me just before we came on here, you reckon it's a pretty tough card and tread carefully for punters.
Yeah, you know, first two races, the first race, juveniles, no form. So just see where the money takes you in terms of just before the off. I think that's the critical one with that. Obviously, I think bar pots and place accumulators are the best way to go on the day. I think the pick six pool is going to be quite a big one, and yeah, if you're going to take a couple of bankers, then I think you've got a chance of catching it if those bankers arrive. But the Summer Cup itself, it's 20 horses. I think any one of like 12 to 13 can win. So it's a very open race and a very open card. Like I say, if you found one or two, if you've got a bit of value somewhere, I won't put you off having a bet. Value's the way to play this card. Like I said, place accumulator probably the safest bet on the card.
And that's great for punters like me who don't play the game week in and week out. You know, it's nice to have those open races. You can take quartets, you can take trifectas, pick sixes, of course. As you say, the pool's going to be big. I saw Chris mention something like they're expecting a 10 million rand pick six pool. So plenty for punters to get excited about. Chris has done a preview. He couldn't join us on the show, unfortunately. Neither can Alan. But both of their tips will be in the Good for the Game forum. I will put a link to the forum thread down below, and also a link to Chris's preview where he's previewed the undercard as well as the main race and pulled out a few bets. But Jason, let's get to you first. It's the Betway Summer Cup. It's race 7. It's off at 25-4 on Saturday afternoon. I'll have a quick look at the betting to lead us into conversation. I'm not going to share screen today, but we've got Winchester Mansion trading at 5-1, Porto Manzano 11-2, 13-2, Cousin Casey and Atticus Finch, and 15-2, Bless My Stars. You can get 13-1 and better the balance. So when you sat down to look at this race, what did you conclude at the end of it?
That there's plenty of value to be had. I think Winchester Mansion, probably a worthy favourite, the July winner, comes in here with a big penalty from the July, obviously, where it was raised 9 points and put up a very good comeback run. Went fourth behind Porto Manzano last time out. At the weights, they should finish on top of each other again. That whole blanket finish was great for racing and was good to see Porto Manzano come out. Porto Manzano, the defending Summer Cup champion, so you can't rule him out. Winchester Mansion got a bit to do today at the weights, but I do think he'll run a decent race. And yeah, I wouldn't be taking what's on offer. I'd wait for a little bit more of a drift, but I think there's value to be had elsewhere. But he's definitely one of the horses to beat.
And just looking, I want to ask you a comment on a couple of horses before you get into your fancies. Billy Bowlegs, I did see, and this just caught my eye now because it was 33-1 earlier in the week, and I see it's into 15-1. And this was actually mentioned to me by a guy who gives me the occasional tip. I'm still waiting for one of them to land, and we'll talk about that a bit later. But 33-1 into 15-1. Have you heard anything about this one or see anything in the form that makes you think it's got a good chance?
Yeah, if you go back a couple of runs, I mean, the Atticus Finch form line seems to be quite dominant in this race, and at the weights he's got a chance. He ran in the July, didn't put his best foot forward there, but having said that, he's probably better on the half felt, and I've definitely thrown him into quartets. I see Rod Becker's tips him fourth too, so a lot of pundits out there will be pulling for Billy Bowlegs. Samanga Kamalo keeps the ride, which is always good. And this horse has had 2 comeback runs, so his third run after a rest, he'll be peaked. And Brett Crawford knows how to win big races. I wouldn't be putting off anybody with Billy Bowlegs. But if you like Billy Bowlegs, then obviously Porto Manzano comes into the equation at the weights. Son of Raj, horses like Litigation, Atticus Finch, So there's a lot of muddling form lines here. It's luck and running. I know we say it all the time, is going to play a big part, but yeah, it's one of those races. If you've got a fancy, have a dip.
Well, I'm going to tell you another one then before we get into your fancies, and that's Chris Sturdy's fancy, and he does highlight that in the preview. Now, he puts his hand up and says, guys, my wife's got a little share in this one. Royal Victory. I've been following this one all the way through because of Chris's very promising start to the career. We had a few good wins, then seemed to dip a bit, but last time out came back to form over 1900, and I think that's the reason the Connections decided to put it here in the Summer Cup, because there was doubts early on whether Royal Victory would stay, but they now think that he can get the trip. And at 66-1, Chris is having a bit of an each-way go at it, and so am I. What are your thoughts on this one, Jason? Is it one of your top 12 or 13 who could win?
Yeah, I'll put it in the quartet. I think it's a runner if it repeats its last run. Obviously, winning I think it was the Michaelmas down in KZN, not the strongest field there. So it's got to improve in terms of quality to beat horses that are in this race, like your July winner, and only getting 4 kgs. That's my only concern. But where's he drawn? What's he drawn? 14, drawn 14. So if you're superstitious and you like things like that, won't put you off it. And I wish Chris and obviously the partners and his wife all the best there. I think it'll run into the money. If I was having a bet on it, I'd be looking for top 6 places as opposed to top 4, which I know Betway and a few other bookies do offer. I think that's the safest way to go about Bully Bowling and about Royal Victory.
Right, yeah, thanks. That's a good point there about the extended pace and also the draw, because I know when they do the draws in Durban, these days it's horse 1 is draw 1. So of course It's not the case in Joburg. So yeah, 14 and 14 could be something for the superstitious punter. And I'd like you to show me a punter who isn't superstitious. Quite frankly, I very much am one of those. Right, Jason, let's get into the race itself as far as your fancies go. What are you going to do in this one? Everyone, good old technology in South Africa. Unfortunately, we lost Jason there to a Wi-Fi problem. He's got load shedding at the moment, but he's been kind enough to send us a video with his thoughts on the main race. Let's get into that before we get his selections on the balance of the card.
Okay, race 7 is the Betway Summer Cup, grade 1. I'll just touch on a few of the horses I like. Porto Manzano, number 1, class horse on the race, winner of the Charity Mile last time out, producing a great turn of foot just to get the better of Cousin Casey and a few others in a blanket finish. I think that whole sort of field will finish on top of each other again like they did in the Charity Mile. I think Porto Manzano is distance suited, won this race last year, and a definite runner. Number 2, Cousin Casey. Was a bit worried about the distance last time out, but did show a good turn of foot. I'm still worried in this class of field, the 2,000 meters might just be on the touch on the far side. But if he reproduces the way he finished last time and the way he stayed on nicely, if he gets the extra 400, he'll be there and thereabouts. Grant for Nico, Sean Terry, you can't rule out. Winchester Mansion, won the July, 2 starts back, beating See It Again, and you know how classy that horse is. Obviously received a 9-point penalty for the win. Worthy favourite, has it all to do at the weights this time though, with other runners. But Kabelo Matsunyane, Brett Crawford should be right there. My 5, Bless My Stars, is actually my first selection. This finished 3rd behind Winchester Mansion in the July. Won next start and then finished 3rd behind Porto Manzano, producing also a very, very strong finish. I think this is a good each way bet, probably about 7-8-1 with bookmakers. I think this is the horse I'm going to tip first, and for me, one of the horses you should have places on. Number 9, Billy Bowlegs. Brenton, I touched on this horse earlier. Definite runner at the weights. Reproduces its last form. Son of Raj, a bit in and out at the moment, but shows that he stays all day and should be there and thereabouts. Nice value in the race. Draw 19 is not a concern for me because this horse is probably better if he comes from off the pace. Aragosta lost a bit of form. The 13, Atticus Finch, won 4 on the trot. Obviously up in the ratings now. His form line comes into this race quite a lot, and at the weights he's got 1 or 2 to beat, but horses that keep on winning, they gain momentum, gain confidence, and I won't be putting off anybody backing the 13, Atticus Finch. Calvin Habib for Alec Laird, draw 6, in with a chance. We touched on Royal Victory earlier. yeah, if you want to look for wider horses, and all the best to Chris and them. Needs to be held up for a run. Muzi Yeni knows how to do that. So, yeah, good luck to Chris and the team. Number 15, Zeus, was a bit of value early on in the week, trading at about 25 or 30 to 1. It's been backed into 10 to 1. I know it hasn't beaten the class of this field, but there again, horses that are gaining momentum, gaining confidence. This horse, as a 3-year-old, was touted to be one of the better ones. Went through a bit of a poor patch and as a 4-year-old, but seems to be regaining his form as a 5-year-old. So, 54 kgs is slightly under sufferance, but for me, Zeus represented the value in the race, and for me, will be right there. No stamina doubts whatsoever, and he's chosen to go to this race instead of the staying race a couple of races later. 16, East Coast, could be another value horse in the race. 3rd run after arrest. I know Mark de Kock thought highly of this horse back when it was a 2-3-year-old, and put up some decent runs back then. But I think now it's starting to mature. I was very impressed. I know it only finished 7th, but it's been running on nicely. It's been trying tactics it used to try in its earlier career, waiting for it and just running on nicely. So for me, East Coast will definitely go into my quartets, as will Litigation. No stamina doubts here. I know he's got a few lengths to find on Porto Manzano, and it comes into the race on the Atticus Finch form line. Put Litigation in, and then the only other horse I can see from a quartet perspective is the 20 Electric Gold, also back into form, carrying 54, also under sufferance, but I think he'll be running on nicely, and for me represents a bit of value in the race too. So I've gone quartet. I'm floating 5 and 15 with 10 other horses, which are 1, 2, 3, 9, 10, 13, 14, 13, 14, 17 and 20. 10% will cost you 108 Rand. I think that's the way I'm going to play the Betway Summer Cup. Cheers.
Great to get Jason's thoughts there on the Betway Summer Cup. Just to mention what we're going to call the good for the game bet of the day. And of course, I did highlight the fact that Chris his wife has got shares in this horse. So take that from where it comes. But we think Royal Victory's got a good chance each way at 66 to 1. And then what I'm going to call the man in the pub, a sure thing. There's a good friend of mine that I have meetings with, and I run into someone at those meetings quite regularly who always gives me a few tips. Good old Shorty. And Shorts, unfortunately, hasn't tipped me a winner yet in about 8 various tips. But he tells me he's heard, this is the good thing on the day, Little Mary Sunshine, trying by Mark de Kock, top 3 in race number 3, and that is at 5 to 1. So that's it then as far as a Betway goes. Let's get into Jason's thoughts on the balance of the card.
Just touching on a quick accumulator, little multiple. I like race 4, number 2, Dice. Like I said, should be there and thereabouts. Won his last 2, and second favourite to number 5, Main Defender, who should be hard to beat. But yeah, go places number 2, Dice, race 4. Into places race 5, number 10, Give Me Another. 2 wins from 2. Looks on the upgrade. Daughter of Grimmy the Green Light out of Another Russia. I think that's a good place bet, second favourite. Into Samari and Summit, I think there's also take a power of beating over 1600 metres. There has been money for the 2 Purple Pitcher, but I think Sandring and Summer is the horse to beat. And at 5 to 10, I think the bookmakers think so too. Race 7 we've touched on. I've gone places, Bless My Stars. I do think it's decent value at 7, 8 to 1, whatever you can get from your bookmaker. But places on Bless My Stars. And then into the 10th race, I think this is your get out stakes horse, number 13, Weather Wizard. I've gone places in my multiple, which works out to 12 to 1, but I think this is worth a good each way bet in the race. In race 10, carrying 52.5 kgs on the upgrade, lightly raced. I think it's worth a decent punt to get out of it, or hopefully use your winnings from the day to make some more. Cheers guys, all the best, too good for the game. Signing out, Little Woozy.
Right, thanks to Jason then for his accumulator for the day. I'll certainly be having a close look at that, and also the other guys on the Good for the Game forum. There is a link down below to the forum thread where, of course, we have our feature race expert, Southpaw. He's picked some big winners in the past. I'm looking forward to see what he's going for in the Summer Cup. There's also the Good for the Game newsletter, and if you are going to open an account at betway.co.za, please use the promotion code GFTG. Thanks, everyone, for watching our Summer Cup preview with tips, and we'll catch you for the next big feature race, most likely the Metropolitan in January.